Well, we move on to West Africa, where the Raxio Group has set its foot in Côte d'Ivoire following the launch of a $30 million data center launched in DR Congo recently. The group now has launched its third data center this year in the heartland of French-speaking West African region, looking to service big tech companies in one of the region's fastest growing economies. Joining me for more on this tonight is Robert Mullins, the CEO of the Raxio Group. Welcome to the show and congratulations on your Côte d'Ivoire center flotation. Good evening.
Good evening, Bossam. Thank you for having me again.
It's good to see you again. Why did you create a data center in Côte d'Ivoire?
Well, as we discussed when we last spoke about a month ago in DRC, and I had sort of previewed that this opening was coming. Côte d'Ivoire is another exciting economy and market for us, and I think meets very much the same sort of criteria that we look for and we have looked for in other markets. In terms of the real need and demand for this next generation digital infrastructure, in this market. When we started looking at West Africa, Côte d'Ivoire really stood out in terms of its positioning in the region, obviously a central hub in the UEMOA region, and simply also just the lack of this kind of infrastructure, at that time and still today, until our facility opened yesterday.
Interesting. This is the third data center launched by Raxio just this year and the fifth for Africa. What's driving this momentum, Robert?
Well, 2024 is really an exciting year for us and really an inflection year. This is the fruit of a lot of the work that we've been doing at the group across Raxio for the last 5 or 6 years. Preparing and then launching construction across multiple sites in parallel, because we really felt that the opportunity was kind of here and now, and waiting, as I think the industry has done over the last 5, 6, even decade, was not a strategy that made much sense to us, given everything else that was happening, sort of around the periphery with respect to connectivity improving, digital services increasing, big tech and cloud services evolving, and so the timing was right, back then when we started this adventure, and everything is coming together and has come together in 2024 to enable us to launch all of these facilities in succession.
Very interesting. Describe the technology for me, Robert, behind this data center in Côte d'Ivoire, as well as the capacity, the reliability, and how this data center progresses to provide data and services within the UEMOA region.
Well, I think the technology approach that we take is really providing, best-in-class, next-generation digital infrastructure in the form of these data centers. What that means, and you mentioned it in your question, is really reliability. What we offer our customers and the broader ecosystem is a extremely reliable, redundant, and secure solution. Where enterprises, companies, connectivity providers, and also the public sector can store and keep their critical equipment in an optimal environment. Now, the technology behind it, again, we're not providing the region or these markets with just adequate infrastructure or dated infrastructure. We're really providing next generation, future-proof infrastructure that we are convinced is there to support the digital development and digital transformation for many, many years to come. And that comes in the form of the electrical equipment that we use to guarantee power with all the backup solutions that are necessary and required to avoid any power cuts. It includes the cooling equipment, which is the latest generation, which operates in a very, very efficient mode, allowing us to have a sustainable delivery strategy as well, and also keep our costs low. It involves the latest in terms of security and fire protection. So all of these things that you would expect to see in data centers, and you do in fact see and indeed see in data centers, I guess, in more mature markets. That's what we're bringing to the African continent and to the markets in which we operate.
We understand, Robert, that this new data center is located some 30 miles out of Abidjan, the financial and economic capital of Côte d'Ivoire. Why is it situated so far from this very location? And talk to me about the clientele and the area where it is situated and why that decision was taken.
Well, our choice of sites is one of the key and fundamental decisions that we make early on in the development stage of the projects. We surveyed a large number of sites, and there are a couple of factors that are really critical for us in site selection. One of them, I mentioned connectivity earlier. One of them is really about connectivity, and I think where we are on the outskirts of Abidjan is and actually on the road to Nigeria. On the main road to Nigeria means that it has all of the critical fiber links that we need for the data center to be ultra connected. A lot of the subsea cables land very nearby. And so we decided upon this park, which also has a vision of being this technology development, accommodating both startups and more developed technology companies as the ideal location. The other factor, of course, is power. And I think the power provision to this park, they've done a lot of work on the infrastructure at the park itself and around the park itself to guarantee high availability electricity and power. And so I think that's the combination. There's one additional interesting sort of aspect to this, and the fact that it is located actually 30 kilometers away means that a lot of the enterprises that are located in the city center are able to locate their equipment in an area which allows them to comply with business continuity and disaster recovery regulations, especially the central bank mandated ones, in a location that is an acceptable distance from their main location. So a number of factors that contributed to that, and we believe we're in actually the ideal spot.
Very interesting conversation with you. Thanks for touching base with us once again, Robert Mullins, and the rest of your team. Wish you all the best. And see you next time, wherever you site in the next data center in Sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you.